Bob handed Zion the piece of paper. "See ya around, Zion," Bob said. "You too," Zion said, responding before Bob disappeared into the distance. Zion looked at the list and read the following: warm clothing, weapon, boots, first aid, food, water, map, tent, firelighter. Zion has a little bit of trouble reading the note. It wasn't that the handwriting was bad. It was absolutely good handwriting. The problem was all the letters were spelled or written backwards or whatever configuration. So he had a little bit of trouble understanding it. Zion then decided to walk towards the market. The market is a place in Oakenhorn where people trade, buy, or sell goods. It was shaped as a ring, like a stadium surrounded by a wall. Zion walked towards the market, the gravel road turning back into cobble. Zion heard the rattling noises of wooden wheels. When he looked up, he saw horses pulling a wagon with a prisoner caged inside iron bars. The prisoner had snow-white pale skin, a big nose, blue eyes, and a gray robe covering their entire body. The prisoner was screaming and wailing to be freed. On the cage was a sign that read, "Beware the witch." Witches were banned in the land of Atlantal, and being one is life as a slave prisoner till death. Zion ignored the screams for help, trying to distance himself from the witch. Zion saw the market wall shadow slowly engulf him as he entered through the gate. The gate was made of a rare wood, only found in the deep jungles of Atlantal. Through the gate was a dirt ring with shops and carts alike, selling items from brooms to beds and art to fish. There was a broad spectrum of items. However, something was off. The market was usually full, crowded, and busy, but today was a different story. There was a clear and empty ring with little noise. However, Zion, being Zion, shrugged it off and moved towards a shop. The shop had a big red sign saying weaponsmith. Now Zion needed a weapon, as his only weapon right now was a practice. The exterior was clay. That was as gray as you could ever imagine. Zion entered the shop. The interior was wooden planks surrounding the room, with weapons across the walls and thick cases covering the sharp metallic weapon. In the room was tools and utilities for crafting weapons. At an anvil with a hammer was the owner of the store. The owner of his shop had a bush-like beard that covered his mouth, orange thin hairs on top of his head, and he also had an orange beard, as previously mentioned. He had old, rusted glasses and was wearing a leather apron. "Howdy," said the owner. "I'm Gingy. How can I do you for?" "I'm looking to buy a sword," Zion said. "Do you have your license?" Gingy questioned. "Of course," Zion responded, pulling out his license. A license is a square iron plaque about 1.5 by 1.5 inches that showed your class on the certain item. Gingy took the license and then handed it back. "Alright, what type of sword do you want?" Gingy asked. "A sheathted sword," Zion said. "Bronze, copper, tin, or steel?" Gingy asked. "Hardened copper," Zion responded. Gingy leaned down, pulling a box from the drawer. The box was brown and dusty, looking like the sands of the desert. Gingy set the box on the table. The box is 24 inches by 2 inches by 1 inch. He pulls the lid off. Inside the box is a sword. The blade was an orange that shined like crimson, with an edge of paper and the tip of an arrow. The guard of the sword was 2 steel bars in a V shape, and the handle was dark wood with a gold nugget at the end. And finally, the Shifu's sword was silver, covered in black dyed leather. Now Gingy, being curious, decided to ask Zion, "Why do you even need the sword?" "There is no danger in Oakenhorn." Zion paused before answering, "I'm going to climb Mount Filijaco." Gingy laughed. Then he saw a straight face of Zion, facing right at him. There was deep silence. Not even the winds of Atlantal wanted to move. "You're going to need a lot more than a sword, my young friend," Gingy said in a deep voice. Zion paid for the sword and left without another word. Zion couldn't help but wonder why or how he learned about the horrors of Mount Filijaco, and what he meant by "you're going to need a lot more than a sword." Zion walked down the path to get some warm clothing. Then he saw a large tent colored in red, blue, and orange, with a wooden sign in blue saying "Prophet Teller." Zion, with nothing else to do, walked in. The tent was quite big, and had lanterns sprung about the place, causing a huge fire hazard in the tent. Inside was a large line of people, all shapes and sizes. Not knowing what to expect, Zion got in line. He waits as the line moves ever so slowly. Eventually, he finally gets to the front of the line, where he can enter a room behind two big red curtains. Zion looked around the room. There was a table with two stools. In one of the stools was an old woman in black and green robes. Then the woman said in an old heckle voice, "Come, sit down. Don't stand up all the time." Zion, being surprised, sat down. "Did you come for your prophecy?" the woman said, as soft as could be. Zion nodded, and soon enough, the old woman's crusty, cold hands were rubbing all against Zion's forehead. Believe it or not, Zion really does not like old, crusty hands on his forehead, so his immediate response was to run away. However, not wanting to be rude, stayed there anyway. Zion could feel the grimy, dirt-filled, germ-like hand crawling over his face. It almost like he could feel the worms coming out of the old lady's hand. Eventually, she sat back down and spoke. "Cheery now, but not so much more. As scars heal, there still will be sore, and on you'll go with no real return in view, and you'll know end calling cue," she said, grinning. The woman stared into Zion for 3 very long seconds before Zion said in an awkward manner, "Okay." Zion eventually awkwardly paid and left the tent friskily. After the encounter, he spent the majority of the day shopping around. While walking back from getting a map, Zion bumped into Storm. "Oh, I'm so terribly sorry," Zion exclaimed, dropping all his items. "Oh no, it's okay, it was my fault," she said, helping him pick up the items. "Thank you for helping me," Zion said. "No problem," said Storm, "but I did want to tell you about something." "What about?" Zion said. "Just follow me." In complete silence, Storm led Zion out from market and into a sheltered area by trees, where you could hear the sounds of the woods. Now, I really don't want to be saying this right now, but I think Aspen's a little... Storm paused. "She's a little what?" Zion asked. "A little sus." "Why would you say that?" Zion asked. "Well, you have noticed that she's been very quiet, right?" Zion nodded. Well, the entire time we've known her, she has only spoken like 4 words. This is just a warning, but please be careful around her. Zion, with a confused look, said, "I'll do." Then Storm left without a trace. After a long day, Zion sat by a crystal blue lake, springing with life. Bob sat next to him eventually. "So how was y'all day?" Bob asked. "Well, to be honest," Zion said, "a old creepy lady touched my face. I got my supplies, and Storm said not to trust Aspen." "Well, why not?" "Something about her being quiet, or something like that." "Well, it might just be one of her traits." "Yeah, but suspiciously quiet." "Whatever you're saying. I don't feel like I should be doing this. I'm not really prepared." "Well, it's kind of too late for that now." "I know. Just be ready, because soon there's going to be an adventure around the bend." Zion nodded as the sun set across the beautiful lake.